Hello, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Dr. Talib Al Khair. I did a PhD in political science at the University of Bath with a focus on using AI to predict terrorist attacks. But what I will talk about today is this massive rift between politicians, between statesmen, and technology. The topic of today will be the effects of AI on foreign policy. Now, I'm talking about AI in the sense that we can use AI, the application of AI, in creating a better foreign policy for statesmen and politicians. Today, I will speak about why this is important, how it can be done, and why we still don't have it yet. So the first thing is, it's very important because for the longest time across history, most of politicians, most of foreign policy was made based on a hunch plus a mix of intelligence that comes from intelligence agencies and, let's say, diplomatic channels. So let's say the foreign policy, the foreign office in the UK would get some reports from their embassies around the world and some intelligence reports, and maybe they can use that to craft a specific foreign policy, or at least we hope so. We hope that they're actually using data and proper analysis to craft their policies. This is very important. The technology itself is very important because now, for the first time in history, we have the methodology, we have the technology, and we also have the hardware to be able to understand and analyze the narrative and the discourse throughout an entire country. So whatever we want to study, whatever we want to analyze, we can actually use specific and already existing technologies to get an idea of how this entire country thinks regarding a specific topic, a specific person, a specific government. Let's take what's happening in Iran right now. If the Americans actually wanted, assuming that the Trump administration actually wanted to conduct proper analysis around this, they could actually go to Iranian social media and have a proper and overarching understanding of what's happening in Iran regarding of what the Iranians are thinking about their government, about the recent demonstrations that took place, about America, about American intervention. We can conduct all kind of analysis that helps us have a better idea of whether the strikes, whether this current war would actually help topple the regime, if that was the goal of the American administration. All kinds of information can be taken by analyzing, scraping social media, analyzing it using large language models, and getting a better idea of what can be done regarding a specific policy. Now, this is something that already exists. It's something that I already do in my startup, Brainbridge Solutions. In my startup, just recently, I'll talk about that later in a separate video, but we did an analysis of the reactions and the narrative around the massacres that took place in Syria, in the Syrian coast, against the Alawite minority last March. And we did some really impressive analysis that took a fraction of the cost, a fraction of the time and effort, and with results that were actually really impressive. Now, this project is almost ready. We're waiting for it to be approved by the funder, and then it will be publicly accessible to everybody. I will declare it here. But to go back to the topic, is that we have now the methodology and the capability to understand and analyze the narrative in an entire country. We have the ability to understand governments and the situation on the ground at a level that is so deep, it was never matched anywhere in history. So we have the capacity to do that. We can do it. We can do it on a massive scale, on a continuous scale. But what is stopping us? What's stopping us is actually it's a structural problem. What we have here is we have a number of bureaucratic institutions that are ruled by people who are quite old, quite distant from technology. So for these institutions, for these governments to be able to go out there and implement these new technologies, let's say they want to implement a company like my company. Let's say they want to get somebody who scrapes social media and analyzes it using a large language model and get the result on a knowledge graph and do all kinds of calculations as a form of analysis. Things like blame, support, polarization scores, all that can be done using these technologies. The bottleneck is actually the politician, the decision maker. That's the bottleneck. So right now, we have this problem, which is, I think, spread all across the world and across multiple levels, with the exception of tech companies. But now we have a situation where the decision makers are relatively old people, distant from technology and the advancement of technology. Many of them still can barely convert a Microsoft Word into a PDF. So we have these technologies that are taking over the world, but the mentality and the structure and the people who are in charge are still far behind. They're very detached from the technological advancements, and they have no idea how to implement new technologies, not to mention understand them. So now we are at this stage of history where we are really at a split road. In the future, it will happen. It's only a matter of time. It will happen that governments will start to implement technology, large language models, all kinds of AI technologies to have a better understanding of other countries, of policies and policy implications. And those countries who do that first will be the ones with a really cutting edge competitive advantage. This is the difference. We have all kinds of tools. We have AI scrapers. We have topic modeling, sentiment analysis, knowledge graphs, all kinds of existing technologies that can be used in foreign policy. Imagine that you are a leader of a certain company, you are the foreign minister of a certain country, and you want to understand how to implement, how to decide what policy to continue, and also how to implement it. And imagine that you have actually the access to a tool that will give you an idea of how the entire population of a certain country thinks regarding a certain point, or regarding a certain topic, and how this mentality, this narrative around this topic is changing with time. So you can see how people think about their government, how it's evolving. Is the government getting more popular or less popular? And if that's the case, why is it so? Why is a certain leader more popular than the other? What are the specific topics that make a certain leader more popular or less popular than the other? So we already have the technology for people, for decision makers, for politicians, for leaders to have much higher quality decisions. The only thing that's keeping us is the structure, the fact that most decision makers are really far removed from technological advancements. And this is something that we need to start working on right now. So this is my dollar for the day, let's say. The fact that we can actually already use existing technologies to have much better foreign policy decisions. So it's my hope that this Iran war will be the last stupid war, and that governments in the future will implement such advanced technologies to be able to make much better decisions and with a much smaller margin for error. And that's basically the era in which we live now, and that's what we hope the future governments will start applying. So anyway, this is my dollar for today. This is my idea, my thought that we already have this existing technologies to have much better foreign policy decisions. I will make more videos in the future, but I would really love your comments on the matter. What do you think are the strengths and the weaknesses of my argument here? And if you think there are more topics or different angles to this topic that can be discussed, let me know in the comments below, and I will make more videos, hopefully more with more structure and also more regularly. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.